Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, it's still Sunday, the 22nd, and I just uploaded the video that has the Q post. So this will be more Q-related news. Let's get to it. All right, now I'm going to just pick up from where I left off with the Q post there, and I've got a bunch of news collected. I know we won't get to it all, but let's try anyway. All right, so let's just click on the first one. They're not in any particular order, of course, but I do have some interesting things here. Now, this is from the DC Patriot, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. Well, what have they done now? Busted. China paid millions to the Washington Post and the New York Times to publish cleverly disguised Chinese propaganda. Huh. Now, this is from yesterday, and it says that these are the people that are ruining America. They are dishonest, they are corrupt, and they take money to report what special interest groups and even foreign governments want them to publish. An investigation revealed that the Washington Post and New York Times and many others accepted millions from communist China to publish Chinese propaganda that was designed to look like legitimate articles. According to the Free Beacon, China Daily, an official mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party, has published hundreds of propaganda articles designed to look like ordinary news stories in some of America's most influential newspapers. While foreign agents may place ads in the United States, the propaganda outlet has frequently violated the Foreign Agent Registration Act, FARA, by failing to provide full disclosure about its purchases. China Daily has published propaganda in mainstream outlets for decades, but did not disclose its purchases of space in America's newspapers to the Department of Justice until 2012. Even after it began acknowledging its relationship with the papers, the regime mouthpiece continued to violate federal disclosure requirements. China Daily has failed to provide breakdowns of spending activities and withheld copies of online ads, among other omissions that violate federal law, according to experts who reviewed years of its FARA filings. The Washington Free Beacon reviewed all of the physical copies of the China Daily ads filed with the DOJ, as well as online ads that propaganda outlet did not submit to the department. China Daily has run more than 700 online ads designed to look like news articles and purchased 500 print pages in 6 American newspapers over the last 7 years. These propaganda articles frame state oppression in Xinjiang, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I'm sorry, bad with Chinese names, Tibet and Hong Kong in a positive light, and run alongside actual news stories promoted or produced by reporters at the Post, Times, Wall Street Journal, and other outlets. Just forgive me for a minute. My tea is helping my throat, so. All right. These outlets claim to support democracy, but they've participated in a cover-up for an ongoing communist-run genocide, Banks said. It's disgusting. Representative Jim Banks, Republican, Indiana. Federal law requires foreign agents to report and provide copies of all propaganda that is disseminated or circulated among 2 or more persons in the United States. Ben Freeman, director of the Foreign Influence Transparency Initiative at the Center for International Policy, said China Daily's ad inserts are subject to those requirements. Excuse me. I think it's time for a fisherman's friend. And any of you that are wondering what fisherman's friend is, it's like a little throat lozenge, but they're very strong. I got the lemon kind this time. Ooh, they're not bad. All right. So, clearly an ad in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, or any big media outlet is going to be distributed to 2 or more people, Freeman said. The president calls them fake news for a reason, America. They are truly the enemy of the American people. The evidence continues to mount up. I was recently asked if I belong to any journalistic integrity groups or foundations. My answer was the mainstream ones? No, I actually report the news. Yeah, there's a big difference between reporting the news and what the mainstream media does, which is not report the news. They just propagate propaganda. All right. Now, let's go back and let's look at this. No, let's not look at that. Let's look at, I don't know. Let's pick one, anyone. Yeah, let's pick this. So much news, so little time. Bad news for COUP crew. Former NSA Director Mike Rogers working with John Durham for several months. This is good news, isn't it? And of course, we just visited that in the COUP post in the last video. Now, this was posted on December 20th. Merry Christmas. The Intercept is reporting that former NSA Director Admiral Mike Rogers has been working with U.S. Attorney John Durham for several months during his investigation into the origin of the 2016 intelligence operation against candidate Trump. This is particularly important because NSA Director Mike Rogers' knowledge is at the epicenter of the origination of almost everything related to the FBI data surveillance that was happening in 2015 and 2016. Via Intercept, retired Admiral Michael Rogers, former director of the National Security Agency, has been cooperating with the Justice Department's probe into the origins of the counterintelligence investigation of the Trump presidential campaign's alleged ties to Russia, according to 4 people familiar with Rogers' participation. And of course, we know that this is true, that he is participating and will probably be testifying. Rogers has met the prosecutor leading the probe, Connecticut U.S. Attorney John Durham, on multiple occasions, according to 2 people familiar with Rogers' cooperation. While the substance of those meetings is not clear, Rogers has cooperated voluntarily, several people with knowledge of the matter said. Rogers, who retired in May 2018, did not respond to a request for comment. Rogers' voluntary participation, which has not been previously reported, makes him the first former intelligence director known to have been interviewed for the probe. He's been very cooperative, one former intelligence officer who has knowledge of Rogers' meetings with the Justice Department said. Now, don't you find this interesting that it has not been previously reported that he was cooperating, and yet Q told us basically back in July. More Q-proof, right? All right. Backstory. When Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes explained his concerns in March 2017 about what he saw from a review of 2016 intelligence gathering, reporting, and subsequent unmasking, the issue behind his concern was clouded in mystery. Indeed, the larger headlines at the time were about demanding a special prosecutor and driving the Russia conspiracy narrative. On numerous occasions, the Obama intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition. Yeah, incidentally? Yeah, it was on purpose. 2, details about U.S. persons associated with the incoming administration, details with little or no apparent foreign intelligence value, were widely disseminated in intelligence community reporting. 3, I have confirmed that additional names of Trump transition members were unmasked. 4th and finally, I want to be clear, none of this surveillance was related to Russia or the investigation of Russian activities. The House Intelligence Committee will thoroughly investigate surveillance and its subsequent dissemination to determine a few things here that I want to read off. Who was aware of it? Why was it not disclosed to Congress? Who requested and authorized the additional unmasking? Whether anyone directed the intelligence community to focus on Trump associates, and whether any laws, regulations, or procedures were violated. Well, of course they were. I have asked the director of the FBI, NSA, and CIA to expeditiously comply with my March 15th, 2017 letter that you all received a couple of weeks ago and to provide a full account of these surveillance activities. Devin Nunes, 2017. Immediately after Nunes expressed those concerns during a press conference, the media went bananas and Nunes became target number one. In hindsight, with information from our assembled timelines of 2016 through today, we can now revisit those March 2017 concerns expressed by Chairman Nunes with a great deal more perspective and information. Understanding the information helps us all understand the totality of Nunes' original frame of reference. Admiral Mike Rogers became NSA Director in April 2014. Sometime in early 2016, Admiral Rogers became aware of ongoing and intentional violations of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, Section 702(17), surveillance, specifically item number 17, which includes the unauthorized upstream data collection of U.S. individuals within NSA surveillance through the use of about query. Section 702, item number 17, about queries are specifically the collection of electronic messaging, emails, and upstream phone call surveillance data of U.S. persons. The public doesn't discover this issue and Director Rogers' action until May 2017, when we learn that Rogers told the FISA court he became aware of unlawful surveillance and collection of U.S. persons. Excuse me. Put into context with the backstory, it appears that 2016 surveillance was the political surveillance, the stuff Chairman Nunes was questioning. The dates here are important as they tell a story. As a result of Rogers suspecting FISA 702(17) surveillance activity was being used for reasons he deemed unlawful in mid-2016, Rogers ordered the NSA compliance officer to run a full audit on 702 NSA compliance. Again, 702 is basically spying on Americans. The actual spying part is 702. Item 17 is about queries, which allows user queries or searches of content, messaging, email, and phone conversations based on any subject matter put into the search field. And the NSA compliance officer identified several strange 702 about queries were being conducted. These were violations of the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, i.e., searches, privacy violations, and surveillance without a warrant. As an outcome of the notification, Rogers initiated a full compliance audit and then blocked all contractor access to the NSA database on April 18, 2016, while the audit was ongoing. Admiral Rogers was briefed on the audit results by the compliance officer on October 20th, 2016. Admiral Mike Rogers ordered all about query activity to be disabled, reported the activity to the DOJ, and then went to the FISA court. On October 26, 2016, full FISA court assembled. NSA Director Rogers personally informed the court of the 702(17) violations. Additionally, as an outcome of the NSA system's inability to guarantee integrity, Rogers also stopped about query permanently. Things to note. Note the sequencing. Note that Rogers, a career military person, followed the chain of command. Note the dates as they align with the Trump FISA application from the FBI and DOJ NSD. I don't know why my computer does that. Early October 2016, and note, amid this sequence timeline, the head of DOJ National Security Division, John P. Carlin, resigns. So yeah, and this is actually really quite a long article, very, very long, and a bunch of comments as well. So what I'm going to do, I think this is important for us to understand the role that Mike Rogers played and why his testimony is going to be critical. I mean, absolutely critical. So I'm going to put this as a link in the first in the first comment. I'll pin that there so that you guys can go out and search this for yourself. And of course, I always upload my notes to Patreon. So let's go back here because there is a lot to get to here. And of course, some of this we've already looked at, and so that's why I'm trying to, yes. Let's look at this. Come on. Why isn't this letting me, there we go. Hang on here. All right, we'll get out there. Oh, that's some look. And look, she's got some sort of Band-Aid thing on her nose. It's weird. She's got something going on with her nose that's kind of weird, but Blue State Blues. Senate should charge Nancy Pelosi with obstruction of Congress. Absolutely. I agree. She's a piece of work. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi is refusing to transmit the articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump that the House of Representatives passed on Wednesday evening to the Senate for a trial. She is, in the words of the article, guilty of obstruction of Congress, and unlike President Trump, Speaker Pelosi has no constitutional basis whatsoever for refusing the request of one of the two houses that make up the legislative branch. For weeks, Democrats have insisted that the president needed to be impeached and removed from office as soon as possible. Representative Adam Schiff, in his House Intelligence Committee report, declared, given the proximate threat of further presidential attempts to solicit foreign interference in our next election, we cannot wait to make a referral until our efforts to obtain additional testimony and documents wind their way through the courts. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler argued at the December 9th hearing on that report, we agreed that when the elections themselves are threatened by enemies, foreign or domestic, we cannot wait until the next election to address the threat. He made the point again during the House debate on impeachment Wednesday. The threat is urgent. If we do not act now, what happens next will be our responsibility as well as his. And Speaker Pelosi herself, opening House debate on articles of impeachment Wednesday, declared, if we do not act now, we would be derelict in our duty. Oh, honey, you've been derelict in your duty for years and years and years. Yet just hours later, after House Democrats had done her bidding and impeached the president, Pelosi told journalists that she was not yet prepared to deliver the articles of impeachment to the Senate. She claimed not to have decided yet who the House managers of the trial in the Senate would be. Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer are both complaining that Republicans will not offer a fair trial in the Senate. Oh, like the fair trial he received in Congress. Right. That is a fair trial for the prosecution, not for the president. No, it's never been fair for the president. Yet even Schumer himself, in arguing for additional witnesses to be called in the Senate, told CNN as recently as Monday morning, we're not trying to be dilatory. We're trying to have the kind of justice America's known for, which is swift but fair justice. Right, Schumer. Right. Now, however, Pelosi is dragging her feet amidst reports that she will not transmit the articles of impeachment to the Senate until early January. It is not clear why the Senate needs to wait. Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution says clearly the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. Regardless of the formal transmission of documents, the Constitution allows the Senate to hold a trial as soon as the impeachment takes place in the House. But Pelosi is claiming otherwise, apparently relying on the advice of left-wing law professors and the support of liberal legal analysts on cable news. She is no longer rushing the process. She is now obstructing it, knowing that there is no two-thirds majority for removal in the Senate. Which may even dismiss the charges as unconstitutional. Unlike Trump, who can cite text and precedent in resisting subpoenas, Pelosi's delay is unlawful and unprecedented. Nancy Pelosi is therefore guilty of obstruction of Congress. She will fail, But just as the Democrats have told us for weeks that the president can be impeached for attempting to do something they consider wrong, Pelosi too can be held accountable for attempting to undermine the Constitution. When Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell loses patience and moves to dismiss the impeachment, he should add another charge against Pelosi for contempt. Well, I'm pretty sure we all agree on that. In fact, I would be highly, highly surprised if any of us disagree with that. So let's go back and see what else we can get into. And let me see. We've got lots here, and I'm trying to pick and choose because I don't, yeah, you know, this is from a while ago, but I never touched on this, and I should because it's important. Justin Trudeau wants significant penalties for social media hate speech. This from the man who dressed in blackface. Well, he called it brownface. 3 different occasions. 3 different occasions he dressed. He was wearing a blackface and photographed. And he's worried about significant penalties for social media hate speech. Okay. Canadian Prime Minister, hang on. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, recently made infamous over resurfaced blackface photos, has instructed his ministers to create new legislation aimed at tackling hate speech on social media. You know, kind of like China. The mandate letter sent to Canada's Minister of Heritage calls for legislation to be drawn up imposing significant penalties on social media companies that do not remove so-called hate speech within 24 hours. The letter singles out hate speech for special attention before moving on to other items like child exploitation and terrorism, which Canada knows all about. Says, where am I? Here. In another letter sent to the, create new regulations for social media platforms, starting with the requirement that all platforms remove illegal content, including hate speech, within 24 hours. Yeah, I think we already read that. In another letter sent to the Minister of Justice, instructs the minister to work with his colleagues to combat online hate. Work with the Minister of Diversity and Inclusion and Youth and the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness to combat online hate and harassment. Trudeau's government appears to be following the lead of European states like Germany, which already imposes fines of up to 50 million euros against tech companies that fail to promptly remove so-called hate speech. French legislators have even considered jailing officials from tech companies that fail to meet demands to remove hateful content. Canada is one of the signatories of the Christchurch Call to Action, a collective demand from various nation states for social media companies to clamp down on extremism. The United States publicly refused to sign, citing free speech concerns. It is unclear. Oh, we don't have any of those concerns up here. It is unclear if blackface photos posted on social media will qualify as hate speech under the planned Canadian law. Yeah. So there you go. That's what Trudeau is up to. Right. Yeah. I don't think very highly of Trudeau, but hey, to each their own, right? Okay. All right. All right. Let me see this now. This is, I think some of this is old, and that's why I'm picking through it, because I've collected these over several days, and I've been busy doing this and that and haven't gotten to a lot of stuff. But it seems to me we looked at this. Bombshell: Rudy Giuliani has new evidence about Biden's crimes. The Ukrainian prosecutor was poisoned, and Biden's were involved in money laundering. I'm not going to read this because I'm pretty sure we have looked at this already. And Let's see what else is here. I thought I had a bunch of newer stuff. Now this is interesting. It's from Ernest Allen. And he is responding to Lindsey Graham, who said if House Dems refuse to send articles of impeachment to the Senate for trial, it would be a breathtaking violation of the Constitution, an act of political cowardice, and fundamentally unfair to President Trump. And Ernest Allen said it's all about delay and distraction from the investigations into their own evil ways. The people of the United States stand with POTUS against the domestic adversaries, treasonous, traitorous liars. And that is exactly what they are. All right, now, okay, let's look at this. This is interesting as well. It was, I got this several days ago, but it's important. Okay, now, this is from a while ago. This is from November 18th, but I don't think we have touched on this. In fact, I am quite sure we have not. This is why they must impeach. Ukrainian MP says Burisma financed Clinton campaign with $10 million of unmarked cash. Biden personally prevented money laundering witness from entering the USA. That's really important. So first of all, and here's Hillary, tweeting away saying, we can't, let Trump allow foreign interference in our elections, for the next election. And my gosh, yeah, if there was any foreign interference in the last election, it was for Hillary. And yet she still didn't win. $10 million she received from the Ukraine. 10 million. And that was from Burisma. Imagine that. Not only that, but Biden personally prevented the witness, a witness that knew about this money laundering, from entering the USA to be able to testify. Well, isn't that special? It is, isn't it? Democracy or hypocrisy? CP Media has been steadily breaking news on American government and Obama administration corruption in Ukraine as the impeachment inquiry scam heats up in Washington, D.C. Although we have provided plenty of evidence of organized crime emanating from the State Department and elsewhere in the U.S. government infrastructure in Kiev, many still wonder why the Democrats are so rabid to stop Trump from having a second term. Well, now we believe we are getting closer to the answer. Today, CD Media sat down with former Ukrainian MP Alexander Orenchenko in Dusseldorf, Germany, to discuss the issue of Ukrainian corruption. We have reported before on his allegations regarding payments to the Biden family from Burisma and how he was pressured by a senior FBI agent to not speak to the press on the issue. We later reported corroborating information on his testimony. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting, no? Nice horse. The meeting was a long conversation held in a hospital room where Orenchenko was going through a comprehensive 3-day health exam. The environment was surreal as nurses came in and out of the room during our discussion with various examination results. He seemed relaxed and confident. After all, it was after the Zelensky election, which deposed his arch-enemy, former Ukrainian president Petro Poroshenko. We asked about the charges against him in Ukraine, which he says were politically motivated, for shining light on the corruption of Poroshenko with audio tapes live on Ukrainian television. The new government wants me to make a deal, he said, referencing the new Ukrainian prosecutor's request to testify against Poroshenko. Orenchenko says that Zelensky government has 13 corruption cases in progress against former president and have served papers just today to the defendant. The conversation eventually came around to, oh, I'm sorry, I missed something here. Poroshenko has $1 billion in cash. He is buying anything and anyone in Ukraine at the moment, so you have to be careful, he adds. The conversation eventually came around to the Biden-Burisma scandal. Orenchenko then laid out what actually happened with the Bidens and Burisma, the Ukrainian national gas group of companies where Hunter Biden was paid millions to sit on the board while having no experience in the industry. In 2015, Burisma was considered a corrupt company, but a very lucrative and powerful one. Poroshenko was trying to get in and get a piece of the action. CD Media has reported how Poroshenko also wanted private bank for the same reason. So essentially, Zlotevsky, Mykola, Zlotevsky, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering these names, oligarch owner, brought in Biden for protection, and the Biden family got paid, of course. No one would mess with Burisma with the vice president involved. Zlotevsky showed everyone Biden was on the board pushing his father's name. The problem with the corrupted company label in the United States went away quickly in about 3 months. It was amazing. And of course, Burisma also helped the Clinton campaign prior to the election. Why? How did they help, we asked? They paid them around $10 million. Wouldn't those wire transfers show up, we questioned? That was Ukraine. Everything was done with big bags of cash to the Clintons. Orenchenko then went on to describe how he was approached by prosecutors in the U.S. to testify in the United States on American corruption in Ukraine. He showed us a letter published below from the Department of Justice in 2016, where he says they provided him a temporary visa to come testify on the theft and money laundering of American aid to Ukraine and on the illegal money to the Clintons. And that is the letter. Right before I was to leave for the U.S., I received notice that my visa had been canceled due to personal involvement of Vice President Joe Biden. He made a personal phone call and the visa was canceled. I guess he didn't want me telling what I know, so I didn't make it to the United States to testify. The cancellation of the visa has been confirmed by CD Media by a secondary source. Orenchenko then reiterated that former FBI agent Karen Greenaway was pushing hard during this time for him to not talk to the press about his knowledge of the Biden scandal, holding the threat of American law enforcement action against him to do so. Greenaway has since retired from the FBI but remains in Ukraine, involved with one of the Soros foundations. Naturally, she was pushing hard for me to say nothing, he declared. She was running everything for the Democrats, all the cover-up for the corruption. CD Media will be releasing more information from our conversation with Orenchenko and others soon. So that is very interesting. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and I would never have thought that Ukraine played such a huge role in all of this, but it most certainly has. And I think that a lot of the Democrats have their fingers in that dirty little pie. I really do. So let's go back and let's see what else I have here. My voice is going, of course. So let's look at just a couple more things, and this is interesting. Well, it would be more interesting if we could. There we go. According to reports, George Soros is listed as the second most influential person in Ukraine. Now, that shouldn't surprise any of us, and I'm not going to go into all of this because, you know, we know all about George Soros and how he's pulling the strings behind the scenes, and he's a puppet master, and he's just doing the strings, and his little puppets are dancing the dance, doing whatever he tells them to do, because it all involves money. All right. Now, I think, let me see. And I put this in there. And I think we've visited this before, that Joe Biden's niece pleads guilty to credit account theft. She stole someone else's credit card, I guess, and she ran it up, and she pled guilty. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? No. And this, the IG report proves Adam Schiff has been lying the whole time. I think we all know that. I think that we knew that anytime he opened his mouth, he was lying. That's what he does. Is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez okay? She's never been okay. Anyway, on Friday, Democrats of the House Judiciary Committee approved 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump: abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The committee votes sends the question to the full House, with a vote expected later this week. And of course, this is old news, but IG vindicated Nunes, damned Schiff. FBI and DOJ officials did not abuse the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act process, omit material information, or subvert this vital tool to spy on the Trump campaign, Schiff's memorandum began. There's a lot of lies to unpack in that one sentence. Lies Schiff repeats throughout the memorandum. A montage of Schiff's no abuse claims weaved through his memorandum contrasts sharply with the IG's finding. Yeah, as in... yeah, Schiff lied about just about everything. No, I think he did lie about everything. For instance, Schiff assured Americans the DOJ met the rigor, transparency, and evidentiary basis needed to meet FISA's probable cause requirement. Then Schiff claims, in bold for emphasis, that the DOJ October 21st, 2016 FISA application and 3 subsequent renewals carefully outlined for the court a multi-pronged rationale for surveilling Page. No, it didn't. He's a liar. He also claimed DOJ's warrant request was based on compelling evidence. Compelling. And probable cause to believe Page was knowingly assisting clandestine Russian intelligence activities in the U.S. DOJ, now that's not Lisa Page, that is Carter Page. DOJ told the court that the truth, Schiff promised and then supported this claim by representing to the public that current and former senior officials later corroborated the statements in the FISA application in extensive committee testimony. These passages all coalesce to the same false general claim. There was nothing remiss in the FISA applications. The facts that prove otherwise, yes, there was abuse. Yes, the FBI and DOJ omitted material information. Yes, the FBI and DOJ subverted this vital tool to spy on the Trump campaign. No, there was no rigor, transparency, or evidentiary basis for the FISA applications, and the applications did not carefully outline the basis for surveilling Page. And no, the DOJ did not tell the truth in court. IG made these points clear over the course of 480 pages, capsulized by these 2 sentences. We identified multiple incidences in which factual assertions relied upon in the first FISA application were inaccurate, incomplete, or unsupported by appropriate documentation. We identified at least 17 significant errors or omissions in the Carter Page FISA applications. In addition, the general platitudes of professionalism Schiff spewed, he added several whoppers such as FISA was not used to spy on Trump or his campaign. To back up this falsehood, Schiff relied on the ignorance of the general public concerning FISA surveillance warrants, stressing, as the Trump campaign and Page have acknowledged, Page ended his formal affiliation with the campaign months before DOJ applied for a warrant. Lies. As a matter of law, Schiff's statement obfuscates the reality that the FISA warrant authorized the government to obtain prior communications between Page and Trump campaign officials. The report also confirmed that the FBI obtained emails between Page and members of the Donald J. Trump for President campaign concerning campaign-related matters. Everything Schiff said about Steele was also false. Yeah. Another fabricated theme in Schiff's correcting the record memorandum concerning the Steele dossier, the DOJ made only narrow use of information from Steele's sources about Page's specific activities in 2016, chiefly his suspected July 2016 meeting in Moscow with Russian officials, Schiff claimed. But as the IG report made clear, the Steele dossier made the FISA case. Prior to receiving the dossier, the FBI had consulted the various offices charged with determining the propriety of an FBI warrant, or a FISA warrant rather. I'm sorry, my cat is up right around my, okay. Sammy, I hate to do this, but okay, there you go. Works like a charm. I don't even have to use it anymore. But as the IG report made clear, the Steele dossier made the FISA case. Prior to receiving the dossier, the FBI had consulted the various offices charged with determining the propriety of a FISA warrant. At that point, they determined that more information was needed to support probable cause that Page was an agent of a foreign power, because he was not. Receipt of the Steele dossier changed everything. Immediately after the Crossfire Hurricane team received Steele's election reporting, the IG report explained the team reinitiated its attempt to obtain a FISA surveillance order and ultimately obtain the first order from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court on October 21st. Or, as the IG put it, Steele's election reporting played a central and essential role in the FBI's and department's decision to seek the FISA order. So, yeah, and there's other falsehood it goes into. Basically, everything that Schiff said was false. I'm going to leave the link to this as well. It's a good article. It's a long article, so I don't want to bore you all to tears by reading it all, but it is a very good article. Now, I think I'm going to leave it there. My voice is starting to go and it's getting late. And, you know, these last few days before Christmas are packed with activity. So I think I am going to leave it there for tonight. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Sleep well, stay safe, and keep seeking truth. Oh, gosh. See, Sammy knocked it way off. And I don't know what is up with this lighting because it makes me look like I have a tan. And how on earth would I have a tan? It's the middle of winter. So I don't know what's up with this, but I'm going to have to play around with it. So good night, everyone. And I will talk to you soon, I hope. I hope you come back and see me. And hope you have if I don't talk to you before Christmas, you have a great Christmas. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.